She rehearses the sentence 3 times in her mind before speaking it aloud, not because the words are complicated, but because her anxious mind has already calculated every possible way they might be misunderstood. By the time she opens her mouth, the moment has passed and someone else has filled the silence. This happens so often it has become invisible to everyone except her. Silent anxiety does not demand attention, it withdraws from it. It lives in the small, repeated behaviors that most people never notice: the hesitation before entering a room, the careful monitoring of tone, the exhaustive mental replay of a conversation that lasted 90 seconds. These are not quirks, they are strategies, patterns built over years of trying to navigate a world that feels unpredictable while appearing calm on the surface. What follows are 11 habits that define the landscape of the anxious and quiet, those who carry mental exhaustion not through drama or spectacle, but through a relentless internal vigilance that never fully rests. Understanding these patterns is not about labeling yourself. It is about recognizing the mechanisms that keep you trapped in cycles of overthinking so you can begin to interrupt them. The first habit is preemptive apology. She says sorry before she has done anything wrong. Sorry for asking a question. Sorry for taking up space. Sorry for needing clarification. The apology is not an admission of fault. It is a shield, a way to soften potential criticism before it arrives, people-pleasing disguised as politeness. Her nervous system learned that making herself smaller reduces the risk of conflict, so she shrinks reflexively, even when no threat exists. The apology becomes automatic, a verbal tick that signals to others that she will not be a problem, that she will not demand too much, that she is already managing her own presence so they do not have to. But each apology reinforces the belief that her existence requires justification, that she must earn the right to occupy the space she is already in. The second habit is over-editing messages before sending them. A simple text takes 15 minutes to compose, not because the content is complex, but because every word is scrutinized for tone. Does this sound too eager? Too cold? Too demanding? She rewrites the sentence, softens it with an emoji, removes the emoji because it feels too casual, adds a qualifier, removes the qualifier because it sounds uncertain. Overthinking every phrase until the message loses all spontaneity and becomes a performance of what she thinks the other person wants to hear. This is not care, it is hypervigilance. The belief that she can control how someone receives her words if she just gets the phrasing exactly right. But the exhaustion comes from the fact that no amount of editing guarantees the response she wants. The other person will interpret the message through their own lens, and all the effort spent crafting the perfect tone will not change that. The third habit is reading tone into punctuation. A period at the end of a text feels cold, a short reply feels dismissive. The absence of an exclamation point means something is wrong. Her mind scans for micro-signals of displeasure, searching for evidence that the other person is upset, distant, or losing interest. Rumination begins before the conversation has even ended. She replays the exchange, analyzes the syntax, compares this message to previous ones, looking for patterns that confirm or deny her fear. The irony is that most of the time, the other person was simply busy, distracted, or typing quickly. The tone she detected was not in the message. It was in the space between the message and her need for certainty. Reassurance seeking disguised as attention to detail. The fourth habit is rehearsing conversations that may never happen. Before the meeting, before the phone call, before the casual run-in with someone she hasn't seen in months, she scripts it out. What she will say, how they might respond, what she will say in return. She runs through variations, preparing for every possible direction the conversation could take. The anxious mind believes this is preparation, that if she can anticipate every outcome, she will not be caught off guard. But the conversation, when it happens, never follows the script. And instead of being present for what is actually occurring, she is mentally checking it against the version she rehearsed, distracted by the dissonance between expectation and reality. The preparation does not reduce anxiety, it displaces it, turns a future moment into a present obsession. The fifth habit is seeking reassurance through indirect questions. She does not ask directly if something is wrong, she asks adjacent questions. Are you okay? Did I say something weird earlier? You seem quiet. Is everything all right? The questions sound like concern, but underneath they're requests for confirmation that she has not done anything to cause distance or disapproval. Reassurance seeking that outsources her sense of safety to someone else's response. And when the reassurance comes, no, everything's fine, it soothes temporarily, but the relief does not last. Because the next silence, the next ambiguous interaction, will trigger the same loop. The need for external validation becomes a cycle that can never fully satisfy the internal anxiety driving it. The sixth habit is avoiding eye contact during vulnerable moments. When the conversation turns personal, when someone asks how she is really doing, her gaze drops, not because she is lying, but because being seen feels dangerous. Silent anxiety equates visibility with exposure. If someone looks too closely, they might notice the effort it takes to appear calm. They might see the mental exhaustion she works so hard to hide, so she deflects. Redirects the conversation back to the other person, offers a surface-level answer and moves on quickly. The avoidance is not rudeness, it is self-protection, a way to maintain control over what others perceive, because allowing them to see the full picture feels like handing them the power to judge, to pity, or to withdraw. The seventh habit is scanning rooms for exits. Not literal exits, though sometimes those too. Emotional exits, conversational exits, ways to leave without causing disruption. She enters a gathering already planning how to depart without drawing attention, stays near the edges. Monitor the energy of the room for signs that it is time to go. Hypervigilance in social spaces, where the goal is not enjoyment but endurance. The nervous system treats the event as something to survive rather than participate in. And when she finally leaves, the relief is immediate but short-lived, because the next invitation will bring the same calculation, the same exhausting internal negotiation between the desire to connect and the fear of being trapped in a situation she cannot control. The eighth habit is replaying interactions for hours afterward. The conversation is over, but in her mind it continues. She reviews what she said, what they said, the pauses, the facial expressions, the moments where she feels she might have said too much or not enough. Overthinking at night when the house is quiet and there are no distractions to interrupt the loop. The anxious mind searches for mistakes, for signs that she was awkward, inappropriate, or misunderstood. And even when the interaction went fine, even when there is no evidence of a problem, the doubt remains, because the issue is not the conversation itself. It is the belief that her social performance is constantly being evaluated and that any misstep could have consequences she cannot yet see. Rumination that turns ordinary moments into forensic investigations. The ninth habit is needing to know plans far in advance. Spontaneity feels threatening. Last-minute changes trigger a low-level panic that she has learned to hide. She needs to know what is happening, when it is happening, who will be there, how long it will take. Not because she is controlling, but because uncertainty activates her fight-or-flight response. The anxious mind treats the unknown as dangerous, so having details in advance allows her to mentally prepare, to rehearse, to create a sense of control over an uncontrollable future. When plans change suddenly, the disruption is not just logistical, it is emotional, a reminder that the world does not operate according to the scripts she has written in her head. That despite all her preparation, she cannot eliminate surprise, and the exhaustion comes from the constant effort to manage what cannot be managed. The 10th habit is struggling to accept compliments. When someone praises her work, her appearance, her thoughtfulness, the immediate response is deflection. Oh, it was nothing. I just got lucky. Anyone could have done it. The compliment does not land. It glances off because accepting it feels dangerous. Self-criticism has become so habitual that positive feedback sounds false, suspicious, or undeserved. The anxious mind believes that if she accepts praise, she is setting herself up for disappointment when the inevitable failure arrives. Or worse, that the person offering the compliment does not really mean it, that they are being polite, and accepting it would reveal how much she needs the validation. So she minimizes her own contributions, keeps expectations low, and maintains the familiar territory of doubt. Because doubt, at least, is predictable. The 11th habit is feeling guilty for resting. She sits down to relax, and within minutes the intrusive thoughts begin. The list of things she should be doing, the emails she could be answering, the tasks she has not started. Rest does not feel like rest, it feels like negligence. Like she is wasting time, falling behind, letting people down. Mental exhaustion is not just the result of doing too much. It is the result of never allowing herself to do nothing without judgment. The anxious mind has internalized the belief that productivity equals worth, that stillness equals laziness, that she must constantly prove she is deserving of the space she occupies. And so even in moments of rest, the vigilance continues. The body is still, the mind is not. These 11 habits are not weaknesses, they are adaptations, responses to environments where uncertainty felt dangerous, where mistakes had consequences, where vigilance seemed like the only tool available. But adaptations that were once protective can become limitations. The mind that learned to scan for threats does not automatically learn to recognize safety. It continues operating as if the danger is still present, even when the context has changed. The nervous system remains calibrated to a world that no longer exists, and the result is a life lived in a state of constant low-level alertness, where rest is suspect, spontaneity is risky, and connection requires exhaustive mental preparation. Understanding these habits is the first step. The second step is recognizing that you can observe them without becoming them. You can notice the urge to apologize and choose not to. You can feel the pull to reread the text for the 8th time and close the app instead. You can catch yourself rehearsing a future conversation and gently redirect your attention to the present. These small interruptions accumulate. Each time you pause, you are teaching your nervous system that not every impulse requires action. That uncertainty can exist without needing to be resolved immediately, that you can tolerate discomfort without needing to explain it away or manage it into submission. How to stop overthinking begins with noticing when it starts. How to rest without guilt begins with questioning the belief that rest must be earned. How to stop people-pleasing begins with recognizing that managing everyone else's comfort at the expense of your own is not kindness. It is self-erasure. The work is not to eliminate these habits overnight. That expectation itself is a trap, another way the anxious mind tries to impose control through perfection. The work is to practice a different response. To build slowly a new relationship with uncertainty, one where not knowing does not equal danger, where silence does not equal rejection, where rest does not equal failure. Your mind learned these patterns because they helped you survive. They kept you attuned to shifts in mood, aware of potential conflict, prepared for disappointment. But survival strategies that work in one context become prisons in another. The anxious and quiet are not weak. They are carrying an extraordinary amount of internal weight while appearing fine on the surface. The exhaustion is real, the effort is immense, and it is possible to learn in a different way. Your mind learned to protect you by staying vigilant. It can learn to protect you by letting go, not all at once, not perfectly, but gradually through repetition, through the accumulation of moments where you chose presence over preparation, where you chose honesty over performance, where you allowed yourself to be uncertain without needing to fix it. This is not about becoming someone else. It is about releasing the need to control every detail, every reaction, every possible outcome. It is about trusting that you can handle what comes without needing to rehearse it first. That you can be seen without needing to manage what others think. That you can rest without needing to earn it. The habits may not disappear, but their grip can loosen, and in that loosening there is space for something different. Something quieter but not silent, something steady but not rigid, something that resembles, finally, a kind of peace. If you found these observations helpful, subscribe to The Anxious Mind to join our community. Just remember, this content is for educational purposes and doesn't replace professional medical advice. Which of these 11 habits resonates most with your experience? Name it in the comments. Sometimes recognizing the pattern is the first step to changing it. Thank you for being here. The video on your screen continues this exploration in a direction you might not expect. Until then, practice noticing without judging. Practice pausing without forcing. And remember that being anxious and quiet does not mean being broken. It means being human in a world that often feels too loud.